The brain. It's a really remarkable organ. It's protected inside our skull. It never sees the light of day. It never gets prodded or poked, and yet it is the organ which is able to take in all the sensory information that we can give it from our external environment through our senses of hearing and sight and touch and taste and smell, of pressure, of hot, of cold. It senses all our internal changes too. It senses changes in carbon dioxide concentration in our blood, of blood glucose level changes. It senses whether we have enough oxygen. It senses blood pressure. There is so much information coming into the brain all the time. And its job is to coordinate a response that keeps us alive, keeps us safe. It builds memories. It helps us to reason, to have emotions. It is incredible. When we think about the different areas of the brain, there are many, and this is an incredibly simplified diagram. On the left-hand side here, we have the front of the head, and this is the back of the head. So this is going down our spinal cord, and you can see all the different areas of the brain here. So the frontal lobe doing high-level thinking, planning, organizing. This is the part of the brain involved in coordinating movement, sensations. Here we are able to make sense of the world in terms of our maths and our spelling. Interestingly, at the back of the brain is the bit that deals with vision. Then we coordinate our voluntary movements here, and our brainstem deals with lots of really primitive things like coordinating automatic things like breathing rate, heart rate, blood pressure. And over here we have an awesome part of our brain involved in helping us to understand, to speak, and to remember. But that's just on the surface of the brain. Inside the brain, there are fun things happening too. In this area, we have something called the hypothalamus that is going to be dealing with all sorts of things, including temperature regulation. We've got the pituitary gland here, which releases all sorts of control hormones that then get involved in other reactions. Here is our medulla oblongata. That's going to be coming up in a moment. We have other areas too on here, the cerebellum. So there are lots of other areas of the brain, the amygdala here involved in emotional responses. Inside our brain, there are bits that are important too. And how do we get the information from the outside world into our brain? The outside world deals with external stimuli. So we've got all sorts of external stimuli, including things like taste and smell. They're picked up by olfactory receptors that are found in our nose and on our tongue. And we can feel touch and pressure through receptors in our skin. We can also detect external temperature changes through our skin. In our ear, we have mechanoreceptors. They deal with movement of little hairs in our ear. They can detect sound. Photoreceptors pick up light, and pain can be detected by nociceptive receptors in our skin. We also pick up internal changes. So our internal temperature can change. For example, when you're doing sport and you get hot and your muscles are getting hot and then the blood going through them gets warm, our brain, the hypothalamus in the center of our brain, picks up that information and allows you to respond. Also happening in the hypothalamus, we've got blood concentration. That, in other words, how much water have you been drinking? Is your blood getting thicker because you've not drunk enough water and you've been sweating? Then that's going to be picked up by osmoreceptors in your hypothalamus to make you feel thirsty. Perhaps you've been doing sport and you're building up carbon dioxide, so the chemistry in your blood will change, and the medulla oblongata in the center of the brainstem detects that and triggers you to breathe more rapidly to get rid of that acid in your blood. And then blood sugar levels, blood glucose levels here, that's not detected by the brain, it's detected by the pancreas, and the pancreas will then release hormones to change how you're storing your blood sugar. So this is how that works. You have a stimulus. It is picked up by a receptor. The receptor might be outside of the brain or within the brain itself, depending on what the stimulus is. The control center is your brain, and then an effector is the thing that does something about the stimulus. So in this example here, the little doggy has smelt, this is his nose here, he has smelt the pizza, so he is salivating. He's getting ready to digest the food. The brain has told the salivary glands to release saliva. And there are actually two different ways that the brain can tell the body to do things. It could tell the body to do something by releasing a hormone, or it could send a signal through the nerves. So we're going to be looking at those two different ways for the brain to coordinate its response. So when the body does coordinate its response, that is called homeostasis. And homeostasis has a definition. I'm trying to keep it quite simple here. Homeostasis is keeping body systems balanced even when changes are happening. And these changes can be to the outside world or to the inside world, but the body and the brain coordinates for our insides to stay as simple, as steady and as balanced as possible within these narrow ranges, just to keep all our systems safe from being damaged. So the different ways that we can talk to our body and make sure that we keep our internal system balanced, we could use the nervous system. If we use the nervous system, this is an electrical system, so it goes through electrical messages sent through nerves. This is a really quick way to control the body, but it only lasts for a short amount of time. Or we can use the endocrine system, and the endocrine system relies on hormones as the chemical messenger delivered through the blood system. It's much slower in general, and it lasts for a long time. So those are the two systems we're going to be dealing with to understand how the brain coordinates any changes it needs to make in response to the environment that it finds itself in.